Hello, I'm Don Mitchell. Welcome back to Business Basics. Today we'll be talking about cutting costs, but in another way. This time in lesson 34, our topic will be operating only on the internet, adding a cost break to a customer, and adopting the minimum business model. And I want to begin, as always, by quoting from the Bible. In this case, the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verses 4 through 6 in the New King James Version. There is one body and one spirit, just as you were called in one hope of your calling, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. Our investigation this time is considers what can be accomplished by operating only over the internet by adding a single customer that makes industry best cost possible. We'll begin by looking at internet-only operations. Here I'd like to quote from Psalm 103, verses 11 and 12. For as the heavens are high above the earth, so great is his mercy towards those who fear him. As far as the east is from the west, so far as he removed our transgressions from us. I was inspired to consider this question in 2008 when the two largest newspapers in Boston featured a headline that the larger of the two, the Boston Globe, which was then owned by the same company that published the New York Times, had threatened to shut down the print version of the paper and operate online only unless employees signed and to cut their salaries and benefits by over $20 million a year. That threat brought to mind a conversation I had when the internet was new with a senior executive at the Boston Globe. The executive's view was that much classified advertising, especially for jobs, would eventually go online and that some material, such as stock price lists, would no longer need to be published. Never once did he consider that online publishing would become a total replacement for holding a printed newspaper in your hands to read the news. Having seen how things turned out, I can't help but think that the newspaper executive would have benefited from this lesson. I aim to help you avoid his myopia. I encourage you to ponder two hypothetical cases for your business before reading further. The first case involves replacing every single thing your business does now with internet-only activities, much like the option the newspaper executive should have considered at some point. In the second case, identify a business that you cannot initially imagine could ever be run solely on the internet, and then design a business model for such a business that would be superior to what at least some customers receive today. After you come up with your best thinking in both cases, start reading the next paragraph. If you'd like to sleep on these two cases before proceeding, that's fine. Or you can come back to this video when you're ready. Here's an example that I initially found daunting to provide over the internet, being a golf caddy. I picked this personal service business because it's related to a powerful example that appears on pages 5 through 8 of The Ultimate Competitive Advantage, describing a caddy who built an extremely successful and profitable business without the internet. Now I want to explore some of what he missed. If you don't play or follow golf, let me describe a little of what golf caddies do. The golf bags and clubs that many players use are pretty heavy, and there's about 4 miles of walking involved in playing 18 holes. Most older golfers don't feel up to carrying their own clubs. In addition, a good caddy will often be helpful in reading putts on the green so the strokes are saved. Great golf caddies can also give advice on club selection and help keep a golfer in such a relaxed mood that it's easier to play well. Some caddies are also good storytellers and bring a lot of enjoyment to being delightful companions. Naturally, providing all these benefits depends on being there with the player and carrying the bag and clubs. Well, you can't carry a bag and clubs over the internet. What could an internet caddy do instead? Let's start by looking at what many golfers are interested in, having a better experience while taking fewer strokes. Otherwise, if the course allowed it, golfers could just put their clubs in a bag atop a pack animal and lead it around the course. In practice, there's an easier solution. Buy an inexpensive pull cart for about the cost of hiring a caddy for a round or two. If playing a cart is too much work, you can instead buy a battery-powered version to carry the clubs for the cost of about 6 or 7 rounds of caddy services. Most courses also rent you electric or gasoline-powered riding carts for two that also carry bags. A cart rental often costs the same or less than a human caddy does. So being there to carry the clubs and bags can be pretty easily done away with. In fact, the internet caddy could sell pull and battery powered carts to golfers or arrange for rentals when golfers are traveling. For golf purists, I'm happy to agree that many of my next solutions will require changes in the rules of golf. Meanwhile, many casual golfers might be happy to use such alternatives during non-competitive rounds. Most caddies are pretty useless for lining up putts. If If an Internet caddy developed detailed information about each green and provided directions for what to do based on where the ball lands and where the cup is, the golfer could gain much better advice electronically over the Internet through cellular, telephone, or wireless Internet connections. Some golf courses already offer variation on such advice by putting GPS devices on their writing cards to tell golfers how far it is to the pin, the front of the green, and the hazards, water and sand traps, ahead. It wouldn't be hard to supplement such electronic information with copyrighted instructions for aspects of playing a hole that aren't covered by the GPS information, and to distribute the information along with the distance information that is provided now. If a golfer input information about what clubs have been used throughout each round and the results, Internet Caddy could also make increasingly accurate club recommendations during the round. Receiving this information would be like having the same expert caddy helping you every time you played golf. Most golfers enjoy being amused while playing. The Internet Caddy could archive lots of stories, legends, and jokes that golfers could select depending on their circumstances and moods. For those who wanted to pay more, a knowledgeable caddy could be available for conversations using voice over Internet protocol technology. Thus, even if your favorite caddy was 3,000 miles away, you could arrange to chat with her or him while you played. Playing a great course at the same time Business Basics was published often cost $600 to $700 a round. Fine caddies in such courses earn around $120 to $200 a round for their services. The Internet Caddy could assist 72 golfers simultaneously in such a course. At the price of only $10 a round, the Internet Caddy would earn revenues of over $2,000 a day, far more than any other golf caddy did except those who work for top pros in tournaments, who usually receive 10% of the prize money the pro earned. Provide this kind of caddying 7 days a week for a busy, expensive course, and you could receive over $700,000 a year in revenues. Naturally, there would be some setup and operating costs. There's no reason to stop at serving just one course. You can provide such services for the top 100 courses in the world, potentially make $70 million in revenues. Is anybody interested? Let's take the thinking process using the golf caddy example. Describe how to develop such an internet-based minimum business model. First, identify how the product or service is provided now. Second, locate the highest value-added aspects from the customer's perspectives. Third, construct alternate ways to deliver even higher value added at much lower cost over the internet. Fourth, be sure that all needs are met in flexible ways that will please the customers you want to attract. Fifth, build on what you already know how to do well and find ways to accomplish even more by working with suppliers to write the software and provide internet interfaces. What are you waiting for? What's the key cost-reducing point about operating only on the internet? You can reduce your and your stakeholders' costs by 96% in ways that will expand your profits after implementation through revising your business model to the minimum best practice by operating only over the internet. Your assignments are as follows. First, identify 3 attractive internet-only business models related to your business goals that no one else is doing. Second, examine each alternative business model to consider what the cost, profit, and cash flow potentials are by evaluating A, what you can charge, B, how many customers will be attracted, C, how well each alternative business model will probably perform, D, how large your organization's revenues can grow, E, what proprietary knowledge advantages you can gain, and how you'll be able to employ such advantages. Third, consider the difficulty of implementing each of these alternatives. Fourth, look at the risks involved if any activity doesn't turn out well. 5, select one business model to develop on a part-time basis. So now let's look at how exclusively serving a single cost breakthrough customer can provide the basis for a minimum business model. Here I'd like to quote from the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 24. No one can serve 2 masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to the one and despise the other. Now consider how to obtain one customer that changes the economic potential of your enterprise so much that it becomes practical to accomplish an overall 96% cost reduction after gaining that just one customer. I chose this topic after thinking about how often the conventional wisdom about business strategy is wrong. Most every business person I've ever met wanted to have as many different customers as possible and sell them the widest possible variety of offerings. Why? The business people felt very vulnerable to organizations losing their biggest customers or the bulk of the huge volume such customers represent. From my earliest days as a strategy consultant, I often noticed the opposite opportunity. Attract a customer whose needs were so special and whose purchase volume was so valuable that you could dominate an industry simply by gaining that customer. The Martin Brower Company, which zoomed to national preeminence through serving McDonald's, the fast food company, as its sole distributor of paper goods, is a good example of this focused approach. McDonald's wanted to have a consistent image from restaurant to restaurant, and that meant using the same type of paper items, such as French fry containers, soft drink and milkshake cups, and hamburger wrappers everywhere. Because there was no national paper goods supplier for restaurants at the time, McDonald's decided to create one by asking Martin Brower to match the hamburger chain's store openings across the U.S. and into Canada. McDonald's later asked Martin Brower to increase its distribution capabilities to handle other dry as well as frozen items, and McDonald's wanted to be uniform from restaurant to restaurant. Ultimately, Martin Brower delivered all of the supplies to most McDonald's restaurants in the United States, Canada, and Latin America. Today, many consumer goods manufacturers take a similar approach by seeking distribution at Walmart, the world's largest retailer. When such distribution success occurs, the organization will suddenly have much larger sales, the ability to spread over and other fixed costs, while seeing production and shipping costs plunge on a per unit basis. Imagine instead that you have a training product. Your company requires compulsory secondary education or military, if your country requires compulsory secondary education or military service, a similar breakthrough would be to obtain a contract to provide such training to all the young people who go through schools or the military. And having made a whole generation aware of what you do, you would have an opportunity years later to sell add-on training to the young people after they gain responsible positions in various organizations. Here are some of the many ways that an industry-dominated strategic customer can slash your costs on a per-unit basis. Provide much larger volume than any other combination of customers so that your per-unit costs immediately drop below those of your competitors. The effect is to create a price umbrella that will let you set your prices relative to much higher cost organizations that could potentially substitute for you, but can't match your costs and capabilities due to exclusively serving the strategic customer. Also could delivers the credibility that makes your organization the one other customers want to work with based on knowing how fussy the strategic customer is in choosing suppliers. The incremental volume you gain from other customers often helps reduce costs almost as much as if you had instead gained all of the increased volume from the strategic customer. Third, allows your organization to access lower cost financing. Small and unknown organizations often find themselves paying double or more the cost of larger and well-known organizations for the equity and debt capital they need to operate and to expand. While serving the strategic customer, your credit rating and attractiveness will improve toward the level enjoyed by your customer. Fourth, by focusing in just a few offering areas, your per unit operating cost to provide such offerings can go down even faster than overall costs. This focusing of your activities will also simplify your operations, so you'll be able to streamline your processes in ways that further reduce costs. In addition, your quality should improve, allowing you to better satisfy customers and end users. Next, it provides a base load of volume that permits you to increase marketing activity to higher levels than that of competitors. When that happens, customers and end users mostly remember all industry marketing activities in terms of having come from your offerings. Thus, your marketing expenditures become 2 or 3 times more effective. Any added volume you gain then also helps reduce overhead and fixed costs on a per unit basis. With increased scale, you may find the ratio of sales to net assets increases so you can invest less capital to grow revenues. This increased asset utilization will greatly expand the cash flow generated. Next, if you have a long-term relationship with a strategic customer, you have opportunities to help that customer optimize the relationship so that any alternative supplier would be much more expensive to use. The effect of drawing closer can be to reduce your competitive risk, even though your volume is highly concentrated. Next, your customer won't need as many aspects of the offerings-related activities as you've been providing. You can then eliminate such costs unless another customer will pay enough to make such offerings and activities financially worthwhile. After that, you may be able to shift your specifications operating methods so that fewer items have to be scrapped, reworked, or provided again, further lowering costs. And finally, the customer may have unique knowledge that can help you operate more effectively and at a lower cost. Naturally, many people still worry about having only one customer, but if all you do is think about providing for that customer and act appropriately, isn't it likely you won't make a mistake that will cost you that customer's business? So what's the key cost-reducing point of gaining exclusive access to the industry's most strategic customer? You can help reduce costs by 96% for your organization, all stakeholders, in ways to expand your profits after implementation, to revising your business model to the minimum best practice for gaining, serving, and retaining your industry's most valuable strategic customer in the most effective and efficient ways. Your assignments are as follows. First, identify 3 current or potential customers that can help you gain the lowest cost position among your competitors. Second, examine each of the 3 current or potential customers to consider what the cost, profit, and cash flow potentials are for serving each of them by evaluating A, what you can charge, B, how many and which other customers will be attracted, C, how well each potential customer will probably perform, D, how large the organization's revenues can grow, E, what proprietary knowledge advantages you will gain and how you'll be able to employ such advantages, F, what elements of per unit cost will decline by how much with each current or potential customer. 3, consider the difficulty of gaining all of each one's purchases. 4, look at the risk involved if any activity doesn't turn out well. 5, select one customer to focus on first and develop and implement a plan to obtain all of that customer's business. So I hope you find this as exciting and interesting as I do, both these two ways of creating an extremely efficient and profoundly successful organization. And I look forward to sharing more lessons with you in future videos. But in the meantime, may God bless you, your family, and all you do in the name of Jesus. Goodbye for now. Take care.